Were they healthier because of that?
Well, one of the things is if you're going to make a meal to heal somebody, it's got to taste pretty darn good if you're going to get them to eat it.
Yeah, sure.
Back then it wasn't a teaspoon of sugar to make the medicine go down. It was a completely delicious meal. And what we're really finding now, really within the last several years, as we've learned about the gut microbiome and things like that, is that food can be both delicious and nutritious for us. It's not about endless kale salads and quinoa. It's about having, a cut of red meat, some fresh heirloom vegetables, that sort of thing can be really part of a helpful diet.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, a lot of us try. Like Robert and I talk to authors all the time, and you'll have them disagree with one another, not at the same time, but like we'll talk to an author who says, don't do cheese at all ever, and another one who will say, oh, cheese is a great thing to eat.
Yeah, right.
and you kind of get the picture, right? And we become confused.
Well, rightly so. And here's where the problem lies. And this is really, if you have to sum up, well, what is quantum food? What does that mean? Well, it means that we have to change our perspective. For the last 50 years, we've been told by these people you're talking about, cheese is bad. But what is cheese, right? There's cheese that comes in a spray can. There's neon, day-glow, orange cheese-like food. And then there's an all-natural, Roquefort-aged, fermented, live blue cheese. And they are not the same thing. And that's what we've got to get away from. So quantum food is about looking at quality, not categories of food.
And I'm just off the top of my head, I'm going to think that one way for us as non-people who don't study that kind of thing, for us to know what's good and what's not so good is what? To just look for what's natural? What is the answer to that? How do I know? I mean, aside from avoiding things that look like they've been in a box for a year, I don't know. How do we know?
Well, you pick up a copy. Before you buy anything, I would ask you to ask yourself these three questions. How was it bred? So is it a GMO product? Is it seafood? Is it wild caught? Was it farmed in some, third world country in a sewage pond? What was it fed? Is it organically raised? Is that beef, grass finished, or was it industrially processed? And finally, where was it led? So once it was harvested, how much post processing was done? Is that a real chicken breast, or is that a nugget with 36 additional ingredients added?
Right,
so,
right.
How was it bred? What was it fed? Where was it led?
And once we find the answer to it, we don't need to look again. What I'm getting at here is I always feel like I'm confused about food. But if I say, for example, all right, this grocery store has this product and this fits the bill, boom, I got one. And then this grocery store sells this product and that fits the bill, boom, I got two. And I really don't have, now this is just me, I don't have that varied of a menu for my own self. I'm probably eating the same thing over and over again every week or every month at least, right?
Well, and here's a quick example. So you can get, you find a great supplier of heirloom pasture chickens that are absolutely delicious that fit the bill. But you can change that meal in so many ways by altering your spice profile. So you can use Mediterranean-based approach, right? You're having a more Italian style dinner. You could switch to an Asian profile. You can do them up in fajitas and use a Central American Mexican style. You can go really global and get, South African five spice, and you've got a completely different flavor profile. So we can vary that up so it's a completely different meal 5 nights a week using that same chicken that you bought. So that is a part of the approach to eating healthily, is stop relying on a convenience culture where everything is just sugar, salt, and fat.
Well, sometimes people feel that they can't eat healthy because they're not in a certain financial bracket. Is that true?
Well, bring up a great point. And so along with, Chef Dr. Mike, this is going to require a little work because I actually have to read these labels. The two other questions I get are, one, hey, do I have the time to do this? I'm a busy single, mom, got to pick the kids up from soccer. And hey, if you've got a stand mixer, I can show you how to make homemade pastas and breads in 15 minutes. And then the other question, to your point, Robin, is, gosh, can it be economical? And I can tell you, yes, because as a chef, that's how we run a kitchen. And it's about buying that organic chicken we just talked about, and it's going to cost a little more fun, but you're going to save that carcass. You're going to throw it in the freezer. When you get a couple of those. You're going to save your organic carrot peelings and your organic onion peels that you've taken. You're going to throw them in a pot, and you're going to make homemade stock for about 5 cents for 8 quarts instead of paying $4.99 for 1 quart because there's a picture of a famous celebrity chef on it.
Oh, wow. I love that.
You're a cardiologist and you're a chef. And so those two things come together for a question, or maybe it's not a question. It's just something I want to tell you and then have you come back. I want you to come back at me. Okay. So the other night we went to see a movie, Robin and I, and there was no salt on the popcorn or whatever. And I said to the guy, "Hey, where's the salt?" He said, "We don't have it out anymore, but here's some." He put some in a cup. All right. So I put the whole thing on the popcorn. We sat down and I started eating it. I said to Robin, "Oh my gosh, this is so salty." But like an idiot, I kept eating it. Now, I didn't eat the whole thing. I put it back on the floor and I pretty much threw it away at the end of the movie. So we leave the movie theater and there's the bloodmobile. And Robin and I donate blood regularly, right? So I go in and I'm turned away because my pulse was 110 and it has to be under 100. And it's usually down. It's never that high. And the girl said to me, "Are you nervous?" I said, "No. I don't. The only thing I can think of is the salty popcorn." Mm-hmm. So I just want to tell you that story. Is that possible? What happened there?
Usually the salt doesn't affect blood pressure. Heart rate, it can transiently affect blood pressure. But you bring up a great point because that is one of the myths. I actually talked about it in the previous book, Fallacy of the Calorie, and I address it here as well, is that this whole idea of salt reducing cardiovascular endpoints, reducing death, has never been shown in one clinical trial that reducing dietary sodium, yes. When we actually look epidemiologically, we don't see an effect. Now, the largest trial to date, looking at over 80,000 people in different countries, called the PURE trial, found that for every 1 gram of salt, which is a ton of salt, you may increase your cardiovascular risk 0.73 per 1,000 years, which is to say it essentially has zero effect.
Okay, so maybe I'm blaming the wrong thing. The only other thing I had was a Coca-Cola. Could that have done it?
Well, the sugar can, but I was going to say it was probably the company. Right? You said you were with Robin, and that's pretty exciting.
All right. Thank you. Now I'm going to go have some salty popcorn. No.
You say that there is a link between depression and cardiovascular health, that people that have depression sometimes die from heart attacks and things like that.
Yeah, there's data coming out, and this is one of the things Food Shaman touches on, is sort of all these soft edges that we so often avoid. Because as doctors, we like numbers, because I can give you a number, a weight, a BMI, a cholesterol level, and I feel really good about giving you a number, and you feel really good about getting a number because we can measure it, and it's objective. But what we're finding out is everything is interconnected. So how we eat, with whom we eat, where we eat, whether we are happy or depressed, all these things affect our lives and have physiologic consequences. And for example, somebody who remains depressed after they have a heart attack has a 50% higher likelihood of having another heart attack. And depression alone has been shown to be as potent a risk factor for the development of cardiovascular disease as any cholesterol level. Yet, in my mind, if I tell someone, "Hey, all you can eat is quinoa and kale for the rest of your life," I personally would be depressed, miserable, and probably near suicidal. And so in a sense, we kind of counteract any potential benefit when we don't take into account the entire food experience.
So when a person gets your book, the Food Shaman, we need to follow the recipes as is, but can we add like an original flair to it without endangering ourselves?
Yeah, the book actually doesn't have recipes per se. It has ways to source the food and what kind of chicken you should get. And the idea is that I want folks to explain, because we're all different, and things that I like in my palate you might find awful. So you find those flavor profiles that you like once you sort of break the addiction of the modern Western diet and the convenience culture. And if you like Mexican food, then you get those flavor profiles. If you like Mediterranean food and Italian food, you use those flavor profiles. And it's about, as a chef, it's about teaching you how to build those flavor profiles so you're always eating the things you like, because every meal, like every experience in our life, we want it to bring us maximum joy.
The book is called Food Shaman. It's getting good reviews on Amazon. I just saw that on there. Let's see. The book is available there, obviously. Do you have a website?
Sure. It's Chef Dr. Mike, chefdrmike.com. Folks can go there, and there's a link to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, whatever your favorite bookseller is. And while they're there, subscribe to our newsletter and our podcast, both of which are free.
What is a shaman? What does that word actually mean?
So a shaman, one of the definitions is someone who is a seeker between and betwixt worlds and would go out and find hidden knowledge and return with that knowledge for the benefit of the individual and the community at large. And, as a physician, I've got one foot in the world of food as prescription. I understand the consequences of what we eat. But as a chef, I've also got one foot in the world of food as pleasure, kind of as you pointed out. And so I've got a very unique perspective, and I think real sort of duty to go out there and get the truth, real information, because we're finding out that the path we pursued for 50